7th of November 2017, the Muhammadu Buhari's administration tried to fulfill its promise of returning to a one-year budget cycle. The president arrives the hallowed chambers of the National Assembly with some of his economic team to present the 2018 budget. President Buhari presents 218 budget proposals for 2018 budget to a joint sitting of the National Assembly, christening it as a budget of consolidation. According to the president, the 2018 budget would consolidate on the achievements of the previous budget and deliver on the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP, after Nigeria slipped out of recession. The 2018 budget, as submitted by the president, proposed the sum of 8.6 trillion naira aggregate expenditure, with recurrent expenditure of 3.494 trillion naira, a capital spending of 2.428 trillion naira, and a debt service of 2.014 trillion naira. The budget was based on a benchmark oil price of $45 per barrel and an exchange rate of 305 naira to a dollar and a GDP growth of 3.5%.
Our principal objective will be to reinforce and build our recent accomplishments. Specifically, we will sustain the reflationary policies of our past two budgets. In this regard, the key parameters and assumptions for the 2018 budget are as set out in the 2018 to 2020 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. As
speculated, it has taken the 2018 budget over 6 months to be finally approved for implementation. The budget delayed by the National Assembly and the president's reluctance in signing a budget, he says, has been padded.
A lot has been said on the areas of how we could have passed the budget earlier, and I think there's definitely room for improvement in the area of cooperation and collaboration between the executive and legislative arm of government. As you all know, there are at least 50% of capital expenditure of ministries, some of them up to end of February, still had not done the defense. I think this is an area that, we must work on the two arms of government. Let me, as I say, hope that we will all work together to see the full implementation of this budget, and commend everybody for your efforts in making this work.
June 20, 2018, President Muhammadu Buhari arrives at his meeting room to sign the 2018 appropriation bill into law. The budget estimate has been raised to 9.1 trillion naira by the National Assembly. In the presence of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, members of the Cabinet, and the leadership of the National Assembly, the President says he signs the 9.1 trillion naira budget of consolidation amidst a lot of concerns.
Notwithstanding the delay this year, I am determined to continue to work with the National Assembly towards improving the budgeting process and restoring our country to the January-December fiscal cycle. I note with pleasure that the National Assembly is working on the enactment of an organic budget law so as to improve the efficiency and the nation's budgetary process. As I mentioned during the presentation of the 2018 appropriation bill, we intend to use the 2018 budget to consolidate the achievements of previous budgets and deliver on Nigeria's economic recovery and growth plan 2017 to 2020. It is in this regard that I am concerned about some of the changes that the National Assembly has made to the budget proposals that I presented. The logic behind the constitutional direction that budgets should be proposed by the executive is that it is the executive that knows and defines the policies and projects. Unfortunately, that has not been given much regard in what has been sent to me.
President Buhari accuses the National Assembly of adding new projects to the budget of most ministries, departments and agencies without regard to their capacity to implement. The President says about 6,403 projects have been injected into the budget proposal without recourse, while major projects aimed at benefiting the citizenry are cut.
With the reduced allocation, some of the new projects inserted by the National Assembly have not been properly conceptualized, designed, and costed, and will therefore be difficult to execute. Furthermore, many of these new projects introduced by the National Assembly have been added to the budgets of most ministries, departments, and agencies with no consideration for institutional capacity to execute them or the incremental recurrent expenditure that may be required. As it is, some of these projects relate to matters that are the responsibility of the states and local governments, and for which the federal government should therefore not be unduly burdened. Such examples of projects from which cuts were made are as follows. A. The provisions for some nationally, regionally strategic infrastructure projects, such as funding for the Mambila power plant, second Niger bridge ancillary roads, the east to west road, Boni Bodo road, Lagos Ibadan expressway, and Itape Ajakuta rail project were cut by an aggregate of 11.5 billion naira. Similarly, provisions for some ongoing critical infrastructure projects in the FCT, Abuja, especially major arterial roads, and the mass transit rail project were cut by a total of 7.5 billion naira.